It's time for Takes on Takes. You know the drill. You provide the takes. We offer the takes on your takes today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'd like to thank you for making Locked On NFL Scouting your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Joe, I have a take for us to start today's show with.
Okay.
We were dumb to pick the Packers to win the game last night.
You don't have to do that. The takes have submitted have already provided that. So
okay. Well,
yeah.
Why don't we just skip all those then?
Well, we're building this show and trying to lure in viewers with talking about the Detroit Lions.
I get it. We're smart, or we're dumb. You're smart. You're all handsome. We're ugly. Okay. We were dumb to pick the Packers to win the game last night. It's an open acknowledgement of it so that we don't have to beat the dead horse.
So John packages it much more kindly than you did.
Oh, okay.
John says Draft Dad's power will grow to new levels, allowing you to renew the Our Lions movement.
I mean, we both like Detroit.
Right, but our passion may have declined slightly from last year.
Yes, because the expectations were raised.
Yeah.
Now, I think they're getting some key contributions from players that we had question marks with, and I think that's why I'm excited to re-update evaluations after week 4 to be able to look at Detroit through a refocused lens and potentially reignite the Our Lions movement to the degree in which it needs to be.
Jared Goff threw that interception on the first drive, and then that was like the last bad thing that happened to the Lions the rest of the game.
The entire game, yeah.
Green Bay.
Other than time running out at the end of the quarter and the Packers being allowed to run a play.
They overcame that. Like in the past, that would sink the Lions. And that was garbage, by the way. You can't miss that. Yeah. You cannot miss that. And I thought the game was going to get close, and then it didn't. Lions said nah. And I think courtesy of, was it Quay Walker jumping over the snapper on the field goal? Come on, bro. Like, you can't do that. And that obviously put them in the situation where they scored the touchdown and really buried them. But that drive was pretty significant. Like, they got the ball back. It was like 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I'm like, all right, can Green Bay score twice? Can they stop Detroit? And then Detroit kept on getting first downs. And so that's a sign of a good team when you can kind of get into that late game situation where you really bleed clock and preserve a lead and, put the exclamation point on it. Detroit did that last night.
There's very few teams that I would trust more in those situations than Detroit with how their offense is constructed.
Good segue into the next take here from Dolphins Craze, who says Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be just fine and will break out next week. It took Alvin Kamara until his 5th game to really break out in 2017. Gibbs will do the same. And then with a great hashtag here, Gibbs fantasy owner, hashtag nobody cares about your fantasy team.
Very good. There's probably a little bit of cope in here. I love Dolphins Craze, but there's a whole slew of fantasy football players across America who are just steaming mad this morning. David Montgomery got carted off 2 weeks ago and then had 32 carries in last night's game.
But I think the fantasy football dynamic has really led to bad conversations about David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, and this Lions offense. And I honestly don't appreciate it because there's this loud group of people that are literally just fantasy owners that are annoyed that David Montgomery is getting carries over Jahmyr Gibbs. And the construction of what they want to be as a football team lends itself to needing that complementary player to Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr, you can get into the whole thing about him being a first-round pick and process and all that type of stuff, but I got a feeling he's just going to be fine here. And they certainly build him up to be this like revolutionary piece of their offense, and maybe they deserve some criticism for that based on the way things have gone through 4 weeks. But like, let's not act like this is a complete lost cause situation. There's a plan for these two players, and I think they both need each other to maximize what they want out of this backfield.
And like it or not, you don't make investments in the first round based off of 1 year. Right?
Or 4 games.
The first quarter of the first year, right? It's a good embodiment of like microwave expectations in general. And I think between David Montgomery being what he was, the Detroit run game, the expectations they build for Jahmyr Gibbs, the July narrative with Jahmyr Gibbs was wrong. And as a result, it has totally commandeered every bit of the conversation around Jahmyr Gibbs. I do think it is fair to question, with your competitive window, using a pick on a player that showcases really good promise, but is not getting the workload that you would maybe expect. In hindsight, is that good running back investment and positional, and like those, you could just talk yourself in a circle 15 times over having that conversation. So like, I think it's fair to raise those questions, but is that the question that's being asked, or is the question just not, hey, you told me Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be really good, so I drafted him on my fantasy team, and now he's not touching the ball anywhere near the degree that he's supposed to.
Right now, through four games with his modest workload, is still on pace for 1,000 yards from scrimmage. So
good.
And you'd like to think it's going to continue to go up, right? We'll see here. Right. Ja says, I'll just say the take. Ja says the 1st to 24 wins the Bills and Dolphins game.
Higher.
You think so?
Higher.
The more I've thought about this game this week, the less I think the points are going to be there, to the degree that some might think.
All right, so 20-27 final?
I think it's something like that. Yeah, I think it might be 27-24 type game. I'm not sure both teams.
So then the 1st to 27 wins the game.
Well, I think the spirit of what he's trying to say here is that maybe there's going to be less points than some are expecting.
All I heard was the spirit of the take is that the first team to 24 is going to win the game.
And that's probably the first team to 27 as well.
But it's not always the first team to 27.
Not always, but I think the expectation. I think there's a little bit of a mis-expectation here based on two dynamics. One being the Dolphins coming off of a 70-point scoring outburst against Denver, and the other being that Josh Allen scores a lot of points against Miami. Well, this isn't the same Miami defense. It's structurally completely different under Vic Fangio.
Thank goodness for that.
So a really different way that they're going to play defense against Josh.
Aren't you just devastated that you're not going to get cover 1 5-man pressures on every 3rd down and 7 across the course of the 60? Isn't that devastating? Isn't that devastating for you to know that, like, oh, they're not just going to man us up and bring an extra body that Josh can shrug off the tackler and then beat man coverage?
Yeah, that'll help Josh Allen. But Denver's not going to score 70 on the Bills. Miami's not going to score 70 on the Bills. So, like, those two things, when you really think about it, if you're expecting both teams to like push for 40 points, I don't think it's going to happen. Division game, right? Like,
what did we say? It was 35-31, something like that.
Yeah, but I've come off that. I've moved off of that. I think it's going to be both teams.
How much better or worse did Cody Alexander make you feel when you had him on Locked On Bills yesterday?
Better. Yeah, I think he outlined the ingredients that he felt were necessary to have some success, and I felt like now to have the ingredients that he was talking about, do you go out and do it? That's another story, right? But
I think Naquan Jones is a really big name for this game.
Daquan Jones and Taron Johnson are probably two of the most important players for the Bills defense.
Daquan Jones was flashed in all 3 games that I watched of the Bills defense, even more so than Ed. I know you said Ed's been off to a nice start, but like I've known what Ed is. I think Jones has a little bit of a power element that could challenge whether he gets Rob Hunt or Isaiah Wynn. I think that's a big name.
Do you think both teams are in the 30s?
For entertainment purposes, I'll say yeah.
I'll say both teams are not in the 30s. All right. If you need fresh groceries for the week, but you don't have time to go to the grocery store, try out grocery delivery from DoorDash. You'll get everything you want delivered when you need it right to your door. You've trusted DoorDash to deliver your restaurant favorites, and now you can get grocery delivery that actually delivers too. Get exactly what you ordered, or they'll make it right. So sit back and enjoy quality groceries just like you picked them out for yourself. Got a deal here. Get 50% off your first DoorDash order, up to a $20 value when you use code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout. Limited time offer. Terms apply. That's 50% off up to $20. No minimum subtotal and zero delivery fees in your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Don't forget, that's code LOCKEDONNFL for 50% off your first order with DoorDash.
Okay, take master.
Jed, the Chicago Bears should blow the current situation up at the end of the season. Fields, Eberflus, and Poles. They will have the number 1 pick again, and if they want Caleb Williams, they should draft him and hire Ben Johnson as their head coach. P.S. This is coming from a Packers fan, and I hope they don't do this.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
Yeah.
I think continuity at this point is continuity just for the sake of continuity. They've gotten worse as they've invested more.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough.
I'd be in on this plan. What's interesting, Brian Perez put out a poll the other day. But Brian covers the Bears, has his own Bears website. Check him out. He put out a poll that was, if the Bears had the number 1 pick, would you want them to draft Marvin Harrison to go with Justin Fields, or draft Caleb Williams, or other? Those are the 3 options. There was like 36% of people that wanted Harrison to go with Fields, which I think is nuts. I was like, really? Many people?
Even if you feel confident in your ability to pull Justin Fields out of the tailspin that he's in right now as a passer,
the chance to get Caleb Williams, you do it.
To get Caleb Williams, yeah.
Yeah, you do it.
And how many quarterbacks of the magnitude of investment that was made in just Justin Fields, so call it top 15, top 20 quarterbacks, that have entered into the severity of a tailspin to the degree of which Justin Fields is currently in, after 3 years, get out of it and right the ship? How long is that list of names? Like you would be banking on such a severe statistical outlier for correcting course.
Yeah. It's about probabilities, right? So much of football is about probabilities. What gives you the best chance?
If you're going to wipe the slate clean and get a new coach and get a new GM, wipe the slate clean.
Yeah. For sure.
You have, in my mind, he and Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow are the 3 highest graded quarterbacks since I've been doing this. And like, he's in that stratosphere as a player.
Sounds interesting to me.
You got to take him.
This next one from Enzo is something I've never considered.
Oh, that's okay.
And I don't know if I like it or not, but He says no division games in the NFL should be played until week 5.
No. I think it should be your first 3 and your last 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Now that's, wow. Okay. Your first 3 and your last 3. I kind of like it because there's so much of like a when you get them advantage.
Right. That way you're getting them all early, and then the rest of the season happens. And if you want potential for drama and high stakes games, closing with divisional games for 3 weeks, it's going to turn some of those standings on their side.
I like your proposal better than no division game should be played until week 5, because then it feels like, 6 of your last 11 games are division games.
Right.
I like what you said. I like the first 3 and the last 3. I think it's a good measuring stick early, how you evolve as a football team. You get to see your opponents against other common opponents throughout the course of that season. I'm a fan. I like what you said there.
Thank you.
Let's add that. Let's add 2 bye weeks. Let's have all the second slate of games on Sunday start at 4:25. Let's balance out the 1 and 4 o'clock splits. You know what I mean? You can only play on Thursday Night Football if you're coming off the bye. There are so many obvious things that can make this better. I like all of it. Greg, this is one from last week that I wanted to get to. We ran out of time, and so I wanted to make sure we got it this week.
Okay.
Greg says, advanced analytics, EPA, WAR, DVOA, PFF grades are meaningless. Nobody outside of Twitter uses them. Contracts and Hall of Fame bids are built off of actual stats, sacks, not pass rush win rate. I want to jump in here initially here. I know for a fact, because I've seen a 20-page disposition from a very prominent NFL agent stating why their client should get a certain contract, and the entire thing was littered with PFF data, EPA, WAR, and DVOA. So yes, it is absolutely, whether you want to admit it or not, influential in contract negotiations. Now, have we gotten to the point where Hall of Fame resumes are argued based on PFF or analytics? No, because guess what? Those players haven't retired and eligible for the Hall of Fame yet. I think that there is something to be said for the correct way to interpret this data, but acting like it's not relevant and useful and part of what is fueling the NFL and the decisions that they make is totally wrong. There's the poop hat.
I was hoping it'd break you when I turned my camera back on and had it on. This is a respectful disagree, even though the poop hat made an appearance. But the poop hat's making an appearance. Imagine not watching on YouTube. Because I heard Bill Belichick talk about the value of pressures relative, and we clown Bill Belichick on the show all the time for like Bill the GM. And
by the way, Patriots, second team ever to get a PFF subscription. After the Giants were the first and they beat their ass in the Super Bowl.
Can you say that on this program?
I don't know if I can, but I did.
Okay. Bill very directly said pressures, better indicator of sustainable success than sacks. Because we've seen some guys get 13 sacks and can't otherwise impact plays. So now all of this is, there's a value in finishing plays and having sacks, just like there's a value in being around the quarterback more consistently and influencing plays, even if you're not finishing the negative play. I don't think the market would be to the degree that it is within the league for this data if it was meaningless. Now, you can debate the value of WAR individually, and I agree that's particularly difficult to calculate for football. But the advanced data, win rate, EPA, it's effectively looking at above replacement level for a player. And I also know, Joe, of a contract negotiation that was happening with a team and a player in which there was stipulated money involved that the team and the player could not come to an agreement on because they could not agree upon what advanced data metrics they wanted to use to quantify performance.
Didn't we literally just have a text exchange this week about a clip from Brent Venables talking about EPA on first down?
Yes, we did.
Well,
I fell in love with that clip because it's especially relevant. What made me fall in love with the clip was the previous week when I was previewing the Dolphins game. I talked about getting out of the cliches of what you do on first or what you do on third down and winning the turnover battle. And if you really wanted to set up for success on offense and defense, win on first down. Winning on first down, staying ahead of schedule with your offense is the first-class ticket. And Venables himself said in the clip, there's no greater predictor of winning a football game than your EPA and success rate on 1st and 10.
I have some good news for you.
Okay.
The Bills are like the worst first down offense in the NFL.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that? Do they drop back to throw a lot? Take a lot of shots on
this
those
is what
plays?
they do, Kyle. They throw incomplete passes and runs for 0 yards on first down.
Well,
big thing, man. Here it is. I actually literally have it right here. Passing and rushing efficiency on first down, EPA per play. The Bills are dead last in both first down. Literally the worst. So it's second, and it's been second and third and long all year long. So maybe they can have better fortunes on Sunday. But one of my biggest complaints about the Bills' offense is bad first down production. So
I will reserve all comments until after the game.
I'll send you the graph.
I don't want to jinx it, but it's promising data.
I told you it was good data for you.
It's only good unless it happens on Sunday.
Right. There is no transitive property in football.
Yep, that's right.
None whatsoever. Hey, maybe you want to go to a football game. You should do that, and you should get your tickets through Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets for your next big event, and that's something that often happens. But Game Time is here for you. It is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They've got killer deals on last-minute tickets. All-in prices. Love that. They give you views from your seat and their best price guarantee. So Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. The app is awesome, super easy to navigate. They have flash deals. They've got deals right up to the day of the event, so you don't have to spend months planning it out. You can literally make a game day decision to attend. So check it out. The tickets are also delivered right to your phone. You don't have to dig through emails to get them. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem our code LOCKEDONNFL. That'll get you $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
I'm hoping we won't need to see the poop hat again today.
No. Well, here's interesting. I know we're not going to be able to get to everything, so now I have to be choosy on like what the really good stuff is left. Let's go here. From B More. Atlanta not pursuing Lamar Jackson when they had the cap flexibility to make a deal with the Ravens and stick with Desmond Ridder should be grounds for firing Terry Fontenot when they realize Desmond isn't the guy. That's the kind of opportunity you only get once as a GM. What's the most important job of a GM? I think it's finding a quarterback.
I would agree with that. But is the cost it would have taken to get Lamar plus the contract you would have required to pay Lamar?
I think I can summarize it like this. I think that the Falcons have made a miscalculation with their quarterback decision, but I'm not sure that the answer was Lamar Jackson.
I think that's a fair way to put it. Now, I do think Lamar would have been a good fit within the system, but I don't know. It's always hard. Case in point, look at Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson, right?
Yikes.
Like taking players and injecting them into new systems. And obviously the Deshaun Watson situation is a lot messier and uglier than just a quarterback that got traded and didn't play well because he was in a new system. But those examples exist. And that's always when you're in that stratosphere of investment cost, it gets a little scary because it's not a 1-for-1 and you don't know.
Joseph says Daniel Jones' recent contract signing will go down as one of the worst quarterback signings in recent history. He's a subpar quarterback on a team that isn't close to competing. Jones is one of the worst quarterbacks in the league at navigating the pocket, which is imperative when you're a team with a bad offensive line like he has. The Giants would have been better off letting him walk and having Shane go get his guy in this year's stacked quarterback class.
In this year's class that just came and went, or next year's class?
I'm not sure what he means there. I don't know what he means. He said this. That's how it's written. Last year they weren't really in position to draft the quarterback, right? The quarterbacks went early,
right?
Unless you're like in Will Levis or something like that.
They can trade Daniel Jones next offseason, incur a $33 million dead cap hit, and save about $14 million against the cap.
Where are they trading to, Atlanta?
I guarantee you Daniel Jones, for all of the questions that are going to continue to exist, will be a better quarterback option than probably 7 or 8 teams of what they currently have on their roster next offseason.
If Arthur Smith's their quarterback or their coach, I actually think that's not a bad spot for him.
Oh, the guy with the Daniel Jones or the guy with the Ryan Tannehill comp should go play for Arthur Smith.
Yeah, I think it would kind of work out.
Yeah.
But I think what I like about what Joseph is getting at is I think that the Giants may have overreacted to their season last year. And
we knew that, though.
Yeah. Well, and let's let it play out. I mean, nobody's right or wrong yet. But there was an overreaction. I think that they pivoted. I think they had a vision for what they wanted to do, and they pivoted because of some unexpected success.
Okay, hold on.
I think there's going to be some consequences for that.
Where are the Giants at in cap space? You know what really stings is how I think they structured the contract is probably more regrettable than anything else that they did. What's Daniel Jones? Daniel Jones got a 4-year, $160 million
it's $40 million. It's yeah. I mean, the best quarterbacks are getting 55.
What's his contract this year? What's his cap hit this year?
I don't know. I'm guessing you do, though.
Yeah. What do you think it is?
25.
15. So you gave him vet minimum salary this year and took the $36 million signing bonus and spread that out across the 4 years. If you were just focused on the guaranteed money, got $81 million guaranteed, could we have done a smaller signing bonus and guaranteed a larger year one salary to take a bigger salary cap hit in year one if there were still questions that existed instead of backloading the hell out of this thing?
That answer to that is yes, if you let Saquon Barkley go.
Right.
And they didn't. So
right. So that's what stings was we said we're going to retain the nucleus of what we had last year and really have limited resources to improve the rest of the roster.
Doug says Joe's least favorite franchise in the NFL is the Tennessee Titans outside of the AFC East.
Outside of the AFC East, yes.
You think Kyle's over here nodding his head? Yeah, that's true for sure.
Yeah, a million percent.
It probably is. But I don't know, like, the reasons why maybe aren't what people think they are. I mean, there's obviously weird history between the Bills and the Titans, but, like, I think I've just not appreciated the way that they've built their team more than anything. Like, even when they were, in contention to be the number one team in the AFC, I think that, and I was so critical of John Robinson, and I just felt like a masterclass in doing all the wrong things to try to put your team over the hump when you had a very unique style of play. And then I feel like maybe some of what the way people perceive them versus reality and that disconnect always bothered me. I think that if people are wondering why, it's that. That's what it is.
You getting tired of people telling you you're wrong with something that
yes,
you weren't wrong about.
It's that. It's not, and you had the worst the worst uniforms in the NFL. You do.
They do have the worst uniforms in the NFL.
Yeah, so
I will concur on that.
It's a problem for me. But I can't wait to go to your new stadium. It looks awesome. I mean, but
get new uniforms to come out with the stadium.
Please, God, please. Philip says Najee Harris will fall below the Peyton Barber line this year. You got to when you lean into our bits. I love it.
He's on good pace.
What is it right now? Because I looked at it on my computer.
He's averaging over 4 yards a carry. Najee Harris through 3 games is averaging 4.0 yards per carry.
What's he per touch? Because that.
Oh no, his per touch is even worse because he's caught 3 passes for 2 yards. So 38 touches through 3 games. 3.7 yards per touch.
Oh, brother.
Teddy
take of the week?
That is the Teddy take of the week. Yes.
Teddy take of the week. You come in with 2 great things there.
Hold on. We have to do the math. Draft dudes do math, so this is dangerous. So 13 touches per game, right? We'll round up. Instead of doing 12 point, we'll say 13 touches per game. Jaylen Warren's going to take a bunch of those snaps. Times 17 games is 221. Isn't the Peyton Barber line require 250 touches?
Yeah, it's because, does it anymore? Because that was a 16-game season, right? Isn't it different?
I just think it's 250 divided by 1,000.
Yeah, it's 250 with under 4 yards per touch.
His usage needs to go up.
He might not get the volume.
He might not get the volume to qualify for the Peyton Barber line.
It's a very special category.
Very, very.
You have to have a lot of opportunity.
Yeah. But he is averaging a career-high 4.0 yards per rush this year, so that's off to a great start.
You want
got
more?
one more?
Yeah, I do. I have 2 left. I feel bad about the one I'm not going to get to.
Oh, man, bummer.
I'll let Sam or Will. Sam or Will. Those are the 2 that are left.
Sam, is it Sam Teets?
Sam Teets.
We hear from Sam Teets every week. Get him out of here. I want Will.
Will says the Commanders continue to flop and end up with a top 2 pick to draft Caleb Williams and bring him home.
Pick.
Rivera is one of 2 coaches to be fired before the season ends.
Top 2. I just can't get on board with Washington having 2 wins at this stage being a top 2 pick. Should we do the thing? We'll close on that.
We could do that. I mean, I think we're going to get more. We're going to get them to probably 4, 5, 6 wins. I don't think
that's what I mean. They still have to play the Bears, and they play the Bears at home.
They get the Giants.
They get the Giants twice. Yep. Yeah.
They're not as bad as they were against the Bills. Okay,
it never is. Now they had a horrible game plan for that game. I'll say that.
I would agree.
Yeah, I think they're going to get too many wins to land in the top 2.
Well, maybe Arizona's going to get too many wins. Problem is Chicago and they're just Denver. Someone's winning that game. Hey, don't you know that the Panthers and the Vikings play this week, and then I think it's is it Panthers and Bears the next week?
I think so.
So these teams are going to get the wins.
Isn't that the Thursday game?
Yes, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Thursday Night Football said, "Oh, you've been enjoying the good football? Hold my beer." This is back down to earth now that it's back on Amazon Video. That's going to do it for us here on this episode of the show. I'm Kyle Crabbs. He's Joe Marino. We appreciate you guys for checking out Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes. Takes every Friday. You can find us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. You enjoy the weekend ahead. Enjoy the football. We will be back on Monday to talk about what happened.